Welcome back, everybody. Maverick here, and today we are aboard the Nether Ship, which is a hidden arena in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and we're going to go over the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatalities. For those of you who are regulars of this series where we go over the top 10 fatalities of the Mortal Kombat game that we had just played through previously, you'll notice that this one is the top 10 worst, not the top 10 best, which we usually do. I was trying to rank the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatalities for the top 10 best, as I usually do, and I just found myself with this overwhelming sense of it would be so much easier to do the top 10 worst because, let's face it, each character only has one fatality, and the fatalities are not top-notch on this game. The game got a lot of things right. The game got a lot of things right, but fatalities were not one of them. So, without further ado, let's just jump on in. Well, we're aboard his ship, the Nether Ship, so it's only appropriate that we start off with Shang Tsung. So Shang Tsung lifts his opponent up with telekinetic energy and slams them down. Slams them down repeatedly, and then jumps on them, and soul orbs fly everywhere. This fatality confuses me. I mean, we've got telekinesis, we've got telekinetic slams, we've got wrestling moves. Shang Tsung is doing his best Hulk Hogan impression, R.I.P. And then you've also got green orbs of souls flying around. And I'm going to be honest, the first time, so the formal name of this fatality is the Soul Stealer. And the first time that I saw this fatality, I was like, well, that's kind of a misnomer. He's not really stealing the opponent's soul. How I thought, yeah, he slams them up and down with the telekinesis, and then he jumps on them like a wrestler, and then, I mean, there are souls, the auras or orbs of souls flying around, but I thought they didn't come from the opponent. You know, he never actually makes it obvious that he's stealing a soul. But let me put it on slow motion here. If you look closely, you'll see that every time that the opponent gets slammed, and then when Shang Tsung jumps on his opponent, the green soul orbs are actually coming from the opponent. Now, why is this not immediately obvious? Because, well, it's going fast and there's a lot going on. I feel like they try to do too much to this too much in this fatality to its detriment. It's like they said, oh, look, we've only got room for one fatality for each character, so you know, there's people sitting around a boardroom table and they're like, well, I want to do telekinesis, well, I want to do wrestling, well, I want to do a soul steal fatality. And they all got together and they said, let's compromise and put it all into one fatality. And for some reason, they all agreed that was a good idea and they did it. I think compromise was not just the enemy of good, but probably the enemy of great in this situation, because I think Shang Tsung could have had a great fatality if they just stuck with a cool soul steal fatality, even though that's a little bit played out. They could have put a spin on it. Maybe not. I mean, that's probably what they tried to do, but they put too many spins on it. So, for that reason, it's a little bit hard to follow. There's way too much going on. Excuse me, because this is going to sound like I'm slapping the host in the face because we are on the Nether Ship, Shang Tsung's ship, but this is making the top 10. Bouncing into the number 1 spot, for now, is Shang Tsung on the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatalities. And now he's the number 1 spot right now because we're filling in from 1 on. So since he's the only one on the list, he gets the number 1 spot. He will be displaced. This is not the absolute worst. So as we go, we'll fill in all 10 with the rankings moving around as we do. Up next is Bo Raicho. Bo Raicho stomps. He's still stomping. Gets a running start. And splats Cyrax, which in this case has a bunch of like oil that comes out instead of blood. Bo Raicho takes a few steps back, making the ground shake as he does, and then he gets a running start and just, I don't know, body slams his opponent, and using his incredible weight to smash them, in this case Cyrax, who's, you know, according to the character select, a 650-pound, pretty solid cybernetic ninja. So, the fact that Bo Raicho can throw himself up that high in the air at 375 pounds, according to the character select screen, is impressive. But part of my commentary on this is going to be fueled by the fact that I'm not a huge fan of Bo Raicho. This fatality does make the top 10, and yes, it is worse than Shang Tsung, so Hopping into the number 1 spot for now, displacing Shang Tsung, is Bo Raicho's body slam. Now, the coolest part of this fatality is that on Cyrax, it's actually like this black motor oil fluid that comes out instead of blood. But, the fatality itself isn't creative. I mean, that fatality could have been a regular move by Bo Raicho. It's just a body slam. I mean, there's very little creativity or gore that goes into it. It's not very becoming of a Mortal Kombat fatality. I mean, if you've played Mortal Kombat in the past and you're expecting newer and greater things, and you pop in Deadly Alliance and you do a fatality with Bo Raicho, which I don't know why you'd be picking Bo Raicho right off the bat, but if you did, you'd be let down and you'd never play with Bo Raicho again, and maybe that's why everyone hates Bo Raicho. I don't know. Anyways, yes, Bo Raicho, unsurprisingly, makes the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatality list. Up next is Quan Chi. Quan Chi leaps onto Li Mei and stretches her neck out.
Fatality.
What? I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, this is obviously making the top 10 worst list. Bouncing into the number 1 spot is Quan Chi. Because what the heck was that? Don't get me wrong. Mortal Kombat fatalities often fall in the realm of, unbelievable physics or anatomy, things that just aren't realistic, like pulling a skeleton out of someone's whole mouth. But that was unrealistic in a not cool way, because Quan Chi stretches Li Mei's neck out to like 5 feet. The skin just doesn't do that. I mean, the problem with my the unrealism here is that it would have been cooler to just make it real. You could have just got up on her shoulders and pulled her head off, as would typically happen if someone of that strength did so. Instead, we get this weird, erection, bonerific neck. If you go back and look at it, let me play it here. It looks like a giant erection on top of a body. It's not funny. It's not neat. It's not gory. This is a terrible fatality. And yeah, the second boss character has now, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi are both now on the top 10 worst list. So we're 3 for 3. Now, I obviously don't have high hopes, but up next, Li Mei. Okay, Li Mei sticks her foot in Johnny Cage's abdomen. He doesn't die, so she then decides to kick his head off. Look. Y'all already know what I'm going to say. This absolutely, positively makes the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatality list, and let me tell you why. It's just that, she kicks her opponent in the abdomen, which, it's impressive display of strength, but they don't die. So then it's like she has failed her fatality, she pulls her leg out, and then kicks their head off. Now, this is exactly what I expect from a character like Li Mei, who is listed as a student on the character select screen, because it's like somebody taught her how to do a fatality. She tried it, and she failed, and then she resorted to a different finishing move, kicking their head off after failing whatever she was going to do with the kick to the abdomen. I don't know, maybe she's trying to kick their whole torso off like Johnny Cage has in the past. So bouncing into the number 2 spot, Li Mei is taking over the number 2 spot ahead of Bo Raicho and Shang Tsung, not taking over Quan Chi's neck stretcher. I don't know if anyone will top Quan Chi. That's just a weird, bad fatality. But Li Mei's, not far behind at number 2 now. So we're 4 for 4, and up next is Scorpion. Alright, Scorpion shoots out his spear into Kano's head, but then has to tug on it several times before he can get the head to come off.
Fatality.
Yikes. Now look, I really thought Scorpion was going to bail us out, but I'm not a huge fan of this fatality. And let me tell you why. It's basically a different variant of what we just saw with Li Mei, except the difference is Scorpion's not a student. He's a Spectre of the Netherrealm. Someone of this quality should be able to throw that spear into the head like he did and then yank it off with no problem. But what we have is what I would call a semi-failed fatality. Yeah, he didn't have to go for like a whole different finishing move, but he had to tug on that spear rope, I don't know, 3 or 4 times before the head would pop off. It looks like that's a fatality that could be perfected. You know, if you're Scorpion, you need to go practice that a few times. He's lucky he got the head to come off at all, because, as we've seen with Quan Chi, it could have just stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched. Anyways, enough of that, because hopping into the number 3 spot right behind Li Mei is Scorpion's semi-failed spear to the head fatality. I say semi-failed because he did eventually get that head to pop off. Not like Li Mei, who had to switch finishing moves entirely. But, you know, we're 5 for 5 now, and this is just typical of this game, Deadly Alliance. I am a bit surprised that we've gone 5 in a row, and we'll see what happens next. Up next, Sonya Blade. Sonya blows her classic pink powder kiss. Nitara starts throwing up. That looks like legit throw up. Oh, that looks like blood. Well, okay. Sonya says, I'm tired of it, I'm just gonna smash your body. Now, this fatality confuses me. It does have a little bit more creativity than we have seen thus far. I mean, we've seen some weird stuff. Neck stretching, failed fatalities, a body slam, and like Shang Tsung's, which combined a lot of different things in one. But this one, it does include Sonya's classic Kiss of Death fatality. The problem with this fatality, and yep, you can guess from my tone, this one's making the top 10 list. The problem with this is that the Kiss of Death isn't actually what kills the opponent. Yeah, they start to throw up, and yeah, they then start to throw... Well, first Nitara threw up her last meal, and then she threw up blood, finally. It's like then Sonya got impatient and just jumped on the opponent, you know, making their head fly off. So it's not actually the Kiss of Death that is the fatality part. That leads up to the fatality, but it's actually the jump on the opponent that kills the opponent, and that's not that creative. I mean, I'll give her credit for having the Kiss of Death incorporated into it, so hopping into the number 6 spot for now is Sonya Blade's fatality. I don't even have a name for it. I was going to say Kiss of Death, but that's not really what killed the opponent, so I can't name it that. Number 6 spot, that means it's the best one we've seen so far. I mean, I'm looking at this list, and now I'm thinking to myself, is that true? And I think it is. I mean, they're all so bad so far. 6 out of 6. Surely we're going to run into somebody with a decent fatality. We have to by the numbers, so let's see who's next. Up next is Kenshi. Kenshi uses his telekinetic powers to make the eyeballs pop off of Kung Lao, and then twist his arms up, twist his body up, his legs next. Whoa.
Fatality.
No, that was cool. And finally, we're seeing a fatality that has creativity, it has gore, it is just cool. And you know, I'm a bit surprised I'm saying this because I am not a fan of Kenshi. If you've watched my playthroughs of Deadly Alliance or my alternate outfit unlocking video in the crypt, you know that I am critical of him as a character, but also his alternate outfit I think is ridiculous. But the saving grace for Kenshi is that his fatality is actually pretty top-notch for this game. I mean, that is how you use telekinetic powers. And we saw Shang Tsung do it, and it's kind of like, eh. But Kenshi's putting on a clinic. Very first thing he does is say, I'm not messing around. These eyeballs are popping out. And then he kind of folds up his opponent, arms and legs in, while he's breaking them. And they fall to the ground with blood everywhere, and their eyes sitting next to them. This is a good fatality. You know, if there were a top 10 best, this would be in the top 10 best. As it is, though, it does not make the top 10 worst. Good job, Kenshi, breaking our 6 for 6 streak. Thank you. Movado. Oh, Movado incorporating his bungee cords. What a surprise. What the hell? So he's got bungee cords and spiked cleats.
Fatality.
Make it make sense. Now, Movado, I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, y'all are saying it right now. No one should be surprised. Movado is a character that doesn't make sense to begin with, so why the hell would his fatality make sense? This is just a mess all around. I mean, he's using bungee cords to step back to create thrust for his spiked cleats, and they're not just like cleats with spikes. They're like, I don't know, spike cleats. You gotta like press a button to engage the spikes to shoot out, and then he's flying towards the opponent and sticks his spiked cleats into their chest. This is a messy fatality all around. I mean, it's creative, sure. I mean, but it's maybe like creative in the wrong direction. I just look, it's a bad character with a bad fatality. So yeah, it's making the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatalities. Now, where's it gonna land? Hopping into the number 2 spot, right behind Quan Chi's neck stretcher, because, well, let's face it, that really makes no sense. But right behind that one, number 2, Movado. He's right up there with the worst of the worst. I mean, you got Quan Chi, you got Movado, you got Li Mei. Now, I put him above Li Mei. Maybe I should say below Li Mei, since we're doing the worst. Because Li Mei just failed her fatality and then like had to resort to kicking off the head. Movado intended to do this ridiculous, foolish fatality, so he's getting punished for it. He's number 2 on the worst list, the worst top 10. Up next, Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage.
Alright, we get a little nut punch, fall to the knee, and then Cage doesn't punch his... Well, I was going to say doesn't punch his head off, and I guess he doesn't. Did he rip out a piece of his face? Now, yeah, he does the nut punch. They fall to their knees, and he punches their face. Not the head off. Like, it's not a decapitation fatality. He, like, rips out a part of their face. I mean, this is giving homage to classic Johnny Cage, so I can't hate on it too much, despite the lack of creativity and a little bit of weirdness with pulling out a part of the face rather than just taking off the whole head. Now, I am a critic of the head decapitation fatality. I say it's boring. I say it's overused. So I kind of have to give this more credit than I want to, because they are leaning away from my criticism of the head decapitation fatality. So for that reason, along with, you know, the addition of the nut punch falling to their knees, although this was on Scorpion, I wonder what would have happened if it were on a female opponent. Probably nothing changes. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, this one's okay. You know, it's a mid-range fatality, probably in that 11 to 15 if we're doing, like, ranking by the worst. So it does not make the top 10 worst list. Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero.
I don't get this fatality at all. I don't get this fatality at all.
Fatality.
Look, Sub-Zero, he's in his classic Sub-Zero outfit. I get it. He looks cool. He's a character who's been at the number 1 spot on previous top 10 Mortal Kombat fatality lists with his spine rip, where he rips someone's head off and the whole spine comes with it from Mortal Kombat 1. But this, I don't understand this. This is a fall from grace. And you're probably saying, oh, okay, maybe it's going to make the top 10 worse. Maybe it'll be like number 5 or 6. No, this one's worse than that. Let me tell you why. If you look at this closely, this isn't a skeleton rip out of the back. No. If you wanted to do that, you'd be clearly in the middle of the back. You'd be like in the thoracic vertebrae area. Not so high as to be in the cervical vertebrae, not so low as to be in the lumbar. But where are we? I don't even think we're in the lumbar vertebrae. I think we're down into the butt region. I think they've got Sub-Zero yanking the whole skeleton out of the opponent's butt. This is an arse skeleton rip fatality. I mean, look at it. The evidence is almost undeniable for people who say, oh, it's the lower back. Why would they make it so close to the gluteal region? That makes no sense. If you want it to be the back, you make it the back, you make it thoracic. No, this is clearly ripping a skeleton out of someone's arse. And for those who might want to say, hey, there are no bones to reach into someone's ass and yank out their whole skeleton. Well, let me remind you, In Mortal Kombat 3, Kano reached into someone's mouth and pulled out their whole skeleton. Now, there are no bones in the mouth. Yeah, there might be like the hyoid bone in the throat, but that's not really the mouth. So there is a precedent for pulling out a skeleton from an orifice where there are no immediate bones to grab onto. So what they've done is they haven't just had Sub-Zero fall from grace from the previous number one spots that he's had. They've done so in a fashion that is almost demeaning. Almost they've made this into some kind of comic material for a character that, let's face it, if he wasn't in his ultimate costume right here, his classic Sub-Zero would be in his overalls. So he would be in his overalls pulling skeletons out of people's asses. I hate this fatality. I hate what they've done with such classic material. For that reason, he's bouncing into the number one spot so far as the very worst fatality on Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. I just can't, for the life of me, understand why they went this direction, why they made it so weird. I mean, there's creativity and then there's like off-putting weirdness, and this for me falls into the what are you thinking category. I mean, yeah, he pulls out their skeleton intact. That's cool, but why do you have to do it out of their butt? Like I said, it's just weird, and for that reason, it's at the number one spot for now. A far fall from grace from the spinal rip fatality from Mortal Kombat 1. You hate to see it, you really do. So we'll be following up that disgrace with Kano. Kano reaches in, pulls out the heart, but he doesn't stop there. He then pulls out the spleen, and then 2 kidneys? I think that's what he did. I think he got heart, spleen, and kidneys.
Fatality.
So, wow. I mean, he's basically an organ harvester for transplants. I mean, he got the heart, the spleen. It was on the opponent's left side of the body. Yeah, so that makes sense for the spleen. And then he reaches in, kind of at the same level, and pulls out 2 symmetric organs. That's got to be the kidneys. I mean, wow. So we saw Sub-Zero fall from grace. Well, I think Kano, who's, by the way, looking fly in his MK1 alternate costume, I think he's had the exact opposite of what Sub-Zero experienced. I think he's had a bit of a glow-up on an already awesome fatality. It's the heart rip fatality, but it's expanded upon. It's almost as if, like, they took a good idea and made it better. One of the rare instances of doing so in this game. I love that he pulls out multiple organs. Don't stop at the heart. Don't stop at the spleen. I guess stop at the kidneys. It's enough. I love it. I would love to see... I mean, would it be too much to expand upon this in a future Mortal Kombat game? I'm not sure. We'd have to go there to find out, and I would like to go there one day. So yeah, this one's definitely not one of the worst fatalities of the game. It's one of the best. Up next, Kung Lao. Alright, so you got Kung Lao throwing his razor sharp hat and then kicking the body to make it pop up for him to catch. Now this is Kung Lao doing what Kung Lao should be doing, using his razor hat for a fatality. And if you've only got one fatality, this is the obvious choice, so I can't fault this. It's a good fatality for, I wouldn't say a good character, but a good character in the franchise. I mean, not good for me personally. I don't like him, I don't play with him. But for the franchise, he is a great character, and he's doing what he should be doing. And I do like that, you know, the hat gets stuck in the opponent's head, and then that gives him the opportunity, rather than just slicing the whole head off and flying back to him. We've done that before. It sticks, and when they fall down, he can kind of kick the body to make it fly up, and he can catch it. It's kind of like a soccer move, almost, with a razor-sharp hat. I do like it. It's not, like, the best fatality of the game, but it's certainly not a bad one, and so for that reason, it does not make the top 10 worst. Up next, Nitara. Alright, Nitara kind of growls at us, and then pounces and takes a bite out of the jugular. It goes back for seconds. Going back for thirds? Nope, she just roars and then kicks herself off.
Fatality.
I have to say, it's not a bad fatality. I do like her alternate costume, by the way. She's got a lot of cool tattoos and the dragon boots. Look at the boots. They're like dragons. It's pretty neat. But this is just like Kung Lao. Kung Lao doing what Kung Lao's supposed to do with his razor sharp hat. This is a vampire doing exactly what vampires should do with their teeth and biting into their victims. I like it. I do like that they made her kind of animalistic with her growls at the beginning and at the end. And I like that she goes in for more than one serving. You know, she bites and enjoys and then bites again and kicks off. So, you know, it's not a bad fatality overall. I might go as far to say it's a good one. It's interesting because it's a character that I otherwise don't really like, but when the fatality plays to their strengths, it works. This one works. It's not making the top 10 worst. Up next, Draman. Alright, so we're doing a little club bashing. ×2. First bash the head off and then bash the body into the ground.
Fatality.
Not terrible. Not great. 3.6 Ronkins. So again, we had Kung Lao and Nitara doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and we got Draman doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. I mean, he's an Oni, he's pretty brutal, and he's using brute force to smash the opponent's head in and then knock their body to the ground. I can't knock this one. I think it's appropriate. I think it's exactly where it should be for a character like Draman as an Oni, who's a bit of a savage just from looking at him. I mean, he's got exposed flesh and all, and he's got that club, I guess, permanently implanted into his arm, kind of like Moloch has that steel ball. Just a brutal opponent, and you get a brutal fatality. So yeah, this one's all right. It's not making the top 10 worst. Up next, Su Hao. Alright, Su Hao's using his artificial heart implant to make a laser beam. Cuts Johnny Cage in half.
Fatality.
And Johnny Cage crawls away. I don't know. This one obviously doesn't do it for me. And again, it might be partial bias because Su Hao's just one of the worst characters to ever exist, not just in Mortal Kombat, but in any video game, and his alternate costume is atrocious. So with that as a background, this one is making the top 10 worst. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's bouncing into the number 2 spot right behind Sub-Zero's ass pool. I don't... Yeah, it's a laser beam from an artificial heart implant, and it's kind of like a same or similar technology to Kano's laser beam from his eye. So this one's played out. It's been done before, but more than that, it's such a weak fatality. It's a torso rip. But you can see Johnny Cage is still like crawling away at the end. So yeah, it's a fatality, but it's not one that immediately kills your opponent. I guess you could say, though, that's sinister. You know, you're dragging it out while they're still alive, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I'm just viewing it as a fail. I mean, it's not a total fail because there's no way he's going to survive a hemicorpectomy with half his body gone. But I'm just looking for any reason possible to knock Su Hao. I mean, he's absolutely one of the worst characters. And this is kind of a played out, boring, predictable fatality. I don't like it. And I could see how somebody who likes Su Hao could say there's absolutely no way this should be on the top 10 worst. And I would acknowledge that argument. But for me, it's the number 2 spot, really only behind Sub-Zero because Sub-Zero's ass pull is one of the most ludicrous fatalities I've ever seen. I don't know if I'll ever see anything weirder than that. But yeah, Su Hao for me, number 2. Up next, Frost. Frost gathers some freeze, encases Kung Lao in ice, and then, you know, kicks his body in half. I do like that you can see the slice of meat. It's almost like a CT scan there. So yeah, while this fatality does have elements of prior fatalities that's a little bit played out, I mean, it's Frost doing what she should be doing. So you could say Su Hao was just doing what he should be doing, but that's a different story because I hate Su Hao. But Frost, I do like that you can see the cut, the slice of the body with the bone and the meat, and I say meat, let's just call it organs, I guess, little bone and organs and all that. So it's fine. It's a very average fatality, I'll say that. So it's not making the top 10 worst, but it also probably wouldn't make the top 10 best, and there's only 21 fatalities. So that puts her in the very middle. Up next, Jax.
Jax. Jax wins.
So Jax stomps on his opponent's head after body slamming them to the ground. In this case, it's actually Reptile, a character I hate, so I love to see this happen to him. And a bunch of green blood spills out. And Jax's fatality, I actually commented on in my second playthrough when I was playing as Jax, and at the time I said, and I still agree with my previous comments, I said, you know, if you're going to have bionic arms, why not use your bionic arms for a fatality? And we came to the conclusion that, look at Jax's alternate outfit. He's got the Mortal Kombat gold chain, he's got the vest and the hoodie with no sleeves, he's got the backwards hat. This is a guy who's full on flexing. And flexing doesn't have to make sense. So, this is Jax's way of saying, yeah, I've got these bionic arms, but baby, I do not need these bionic arms, and let me prove it to you. And so he body slams his opponent and stomps on their head with his legs instead. I mean, I respect this. I really respect Jax. I think he's an overall great character, and I appreciate his attitude. And for that reason, this is definitely not a top 10 worst fatality. Up next is Katana.
Katana.
Katana comes in for the kiss. And Johnny Cage's body is stretching to its limits. Almost hurls and then he explodes.
Fatality.
Now, I do have to say, I like this fatality. I like it a lot. It's a callback to Katana's classic Mortal Kombat 2 fatality. And the thing is, it exemplifies her deadly beauty because, let's face it, every one of us wants a kiss from Katana. Every one of us wants it. I mean, ever since she was introduced as a character in Mortal Kombat 2, we've thought, damn, I'd love to get a kiss from Katana. She's just a good-looking lady. She's a sexy, I don't know if I'd call her a ninja, but she's definitely a warrior. And this fatality flips that on its head. Makes you say, whoa, 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 whoa. On second thought, I don't want that kiss. Because once you get the kiss, I don't know if it's a toxin or what, but it makes your body stretch to its limits and eventually explode. And while we're on that topic, I think it's a limitation of the graphics engine, but when body parts explode, heads explode, whatever on this game, there's pebbles of flesh that litter the ground. And if it is a limitation of the graphics engine, fine, but I still think it looks terrible. I don't like that decision at all. But what this fatality also highlights is that, you know, you've got Johnny Cage stretching to his limits and eventually exploding, but at the same time, why on earth can Quan Chi, yeah, I'm going back to Quan Chi, why on earth can Quan Chi stretch a neck forever and it stays intact? I don't like the cognitive dissonance going on here, but I do like Katana's fatality, and it does not make the top 10 worst list. Up next, Raiden. Raiden picks up the 650-pound Cyrax and electrocutes him, continues to electrocute him until he explodes, and pebbles of flesh litter the arena floor. Now, this is a classic Raiden fatality. It's exactly, I'm going to go back to it, it's exactly what Raiden should be doing, electrifying his opponents until they die, in this case exploding. And I do like, you know, I said it was a thirst trap when we unlocked all the alternate costumes for characters, but Raiden's alternate costume is growing on me. He's got the black belt, he's got the, I guess his karate gi is half on, half off. He's got the long, I'm going to call it a skirt, there's probably a better name for it, and then he's got this cool ninja sword. It all plays, and it all plays well into his fatality. He just looks like a boss doing this fatality. I love the electricity, I love his get-up, I love his demeanor. I like this fatality. So this one's also not making the top 10 worst list. Up next is a character I love to hate, Reptile. Alright, Reptile hops on and spits out the acid on the Scorpion's face. Oh, and then shoots out his tongue and eats his freshly de-skinned skull.
Fatality.
Now look, I've made no secret about it. I hate that Reptile is a full-on reptile. I mean, I grew up with him as a ninja, a really cool hidden character ninja with a green color theme. Now he's just a green reptile. But that aside, I can't overcome that bias against his current form because this is a cool fatality. It starts off as basically his Mortal Kombat 4/Gold fatality where he jumps on his opponent and spits out a bunch of acid melting off the skin of their face. But in this case, it doesn't stop there. Again, they've taken a good thing and made it better because basically in this case, Reptile is just preparing his snack. It's as, how we might put a cold meal in the microwave or the oven to warm it up before we eat it. That's exactly what Reptile's doing here. He's just melting the skin off before he shoots his tongue out and eats this guy's head. I mean, the only thing we're missing is from the Mortal Kombat 2 version of that, where he rubs his belly at the end. This is a great fatality from a character that I wish they went a different direction in. I'm not going to say I hate Reptile, but I might hate his current form, actually. Nonetheless, though, this is a great fatality and does not make the top 10 worst list. Well, spoiler alert, that only leaves us with one fighter left, Cyrax. Cyrax has a metal pole that grabs his opponent by the head and just repeatedly slams. Oh my! And then incorporates him into an internal grinder and kind of spews out some of the flesh. Now, I don't know what to make of this fatality. On one hand, it looks a little ridiculous to have this long metal pole come out of Cyrax's chest and just kind of slam their opponent around. I do like that it takes them in at the end into an internal grinder is what I can only assume is going on, and then it kind of spews out the flesh. But at the same time, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the cybernetic ninja fatalities. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Sector's MK3 compactor fatality. Cyrax's auto-destruct fatality in the past was kind of meh for me. And so this one's also kind of meh. I will put an asterisk by that. Sector and Mortal Kombat Gold had some cool fatalities, I think. But here, this is going to make the top 10 worst list. Bouncing into the number 7 spot is Cyrax. And I don't really have a good name for this. Pole Smash, maybe? Pole Smash followed by Grinder. I have it listed as worse than Bo Raicho, worse than Shang Tsung, and worse than Sonya Blade. Now, 7, 8, 9, 10, you could kind of, mix those around. 7, 8, 9, 10 are all kind of equivalent in that regard. It's hard to split hairs with them. And so at the time of making this, I put Cyrax at 7. But if somebody wanted to put him at 8, 9, 10, or maybe even 11 as a just bubble boy fatality for this list, I'd say, all right, I see where you're coming from. Now, that is the top 10 list. Like I said, 7, 8, 9, 10, switch them around, put them wherever you want. I'm not going to have a huge problem with that. I think 5 and 6, the failed fatalities, are right where they need to be. And I think 3 and 4 are terrible fatalities. Quan Chi's neck stretcher and Mavado's spiked cleats. I think those are absolutely terrible. I think they're right where they need to be. Su Hao, I've gone back and forth on this. On one hand, I'll look at this fatality on one day and be like, hey, it's kind of a neat fatality. It's a big laser beam that cuts the body in half, and then there's like a pool of blood that the opponent is crawling away from before they ultimately die. And on the other hand, and this is the hand that I ultimately end up on, obviously, is that this is Su fucking Hao. He doesn't deserve a break. This is one of the worst characters of any video game, not just Mortal Kombat, and his alternate costume actually just gets rid of his hat and makes his big eyebrows more prominent. He's a terrible character. I'm wondering, was there any fatality that they could have put in here that would make me not rank him on this list? I don't know. That would be a tall task. I just don't like this character so much that I am compelled to put him at the number 2 spot, just outside of Sub-Zero's skeleton ass pull. I've just never seen anything like an ass pull fatality. That's totally new to me. And one of the reasons that I hate it so much is because obviously he's got the historical greatness of being the number 1 fatality on the very first Mortal Kombat with the spine rip fatality, which is so classic. And now he's fallen into this like jester category of like, oh, let's make Sub-Zero wear overalls and let's make it funny. Let's have him pull a skeleton out of his opponent's ass. Ha ha ha. It's just not doing it for me. The disrespect to the Lin Kuei Grandmaster. Let's not forget, he is now the Lin Kuei Grandmaster, and they've got him reaching into people's asses to pull out their skeleton. Maybe that's a skill he learned to become the Grandmaster. Maybe it's something the Lin Kuei do. It's not been documented anywhere that I know of. But if that is something they do to achieve Grandmaster, like it's a hidden art, good for them. But that doesn't impress me. I think the Lin Kuei can come up with something better than that. So I'm pretty solid on 1, pretty solid on 2, although with an asterisk saying I understand if you don't harbor the same hatred for Suhao that I do, you might put him somewhere else. 3 and 4, I'm going to stand by those pretty hard. 5 and 6, I stand by those pretty hard. 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm very open to hearing someone else's thoughts who might differ on the placement of those. And ultimately, let me know what you think, because this was a weird game for fatalities. People's opinions are all over the place, including mine. You may have wildly varying opinions compared to my list, and they'd be valid. I'd be curious to hear it and why. So, with that, that is the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance fatality list, in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. These are always really fun to make, so I have a lot of fun making them. And with that, I will see you guys next time, and until then, take it easy.